Hi, and welcome to this channel. Today I will show you a very simple approach that can reveal key levels in trading, such as strong support and strong resistance levels. We are revisiting support and resistance levels, but we are not detecting all the levels and any levels. We're only interested in identifying strong support and strong resistance where the price is more likely to bounce rather than break through these strong levels. And we will do this detection relying on historical data. If you are interested in the coding part, I will share the code in the description below, so you can download it for your own practice and your own experiments. First, we will load our data and we will detect fractals or pivot candles, and these are candles that are higher or lower than their neighbors. So we can have a high pivot candle if the candle is higher than its preceding candles or neighbors, and also higher than its following candles or the candles on the right. In the same way, if we have a pivot low, if the candle is lower than all its neighbors on the left and on the right. These are the candles marked with purple points, as we can see on this graph. Then we will plot support and resistance levels, and we will count the number of times the price bounced on each of these levels. And we do this so we can assign a strength score to each of those levels. For example, the zone was touched by 1 point right here. So this is the score is equal to 1. And this one is touched by 1 and 2, one for resistance and another one as a support level. So we assign the score number 2 here, and then 1, 2, and 3 for this part, and so on. It's very important to keep in mind that we are not taking the exact levels values, but a zone of support and resistance around it. And we will see how to automate this in the coding part. So we can assign a strength score to each of these levels, and we can also split resistance score from support score if needed, or keep them merged and treat them as one single level and have one mixed score for each of these levels. We'll go through the details in the coding part, how to do this, and we'll see how this simple approach can reveal key levels from past data and will probably still be important to consider for future trading. In a sense, if you have a level showing a strong support and resistance in the past, it will probably still show the same reaction in the future. So now we can start going through the Python code and discuss some of our results. This is our Jupyter notebook file, and I'm loading the CSV data file that I have. It's the Euro US dollar candlesticks 1 hour time frame 2020 up to 2023, so almost 3 years of data. So these are the names of the columns. I'm filtering the rows where we don't have any volume, so no movement on the market, weekends and days off. Then I'm resetting the index. I'm checking if I still have some missing values, and then I'm printing the head or the first 10 rows of the data frame. So we have the time column, open, high, low, and close, and the volume column. Then we define the pivot ID function. It takes a data frame, an index of the candle to be tested if it's a pivot high or a pivot low, then the number of neighbors to be considered on the left and the number of neighbors to be considered on the right of the current candle. We test if the candle is higher than N1 candles on the left and N2 candles on the right. If it's the case, then it's a pivot high, so we return 2. If it's lower than the neighbors on the left and on the right, we return 1. That's a pivot low. If it's both, if it has high whiskers, high tails, and low tails as well, so if it's exceeding in both directions all the neighbors on the left and on the right, we return 3. And we're not interested in this case, but we just have to return the correct label for the candle. If none of these conditions is true, then we return 0. We don't have any kind of a signal for the current candle. We're applying this pivot ID function on all the data frame, all the rows of the data frame, and whatever the results are, we're storing these in the pivot column in the data frame. That's a new column in our data frame. So now we can check content of our data frame. I'm running this, and we have the time, open, high, low, close, and volume columns, but we also have the additional column that we've just computed, the pivot column. Notice that most of the signals are 0, which is good. So we don't want all our candles to return a signal, only those satisfying these conditions. So now we can visualize these pivot candles. For this, we are defining some points. If the candle signal is a pivot 1, so it's a pivot low, we're putting a point just below the candle. If it's a pivot high, we're placing a point just above the high of the candle. and we're applying this function to all the rows of the data frame, all the candles, and we're putting these points positions in a new column called point position right here in the data frame, so we can use it later on here to be able to plot these points on top of the candlestick charts. So this is what we have. So these are the pivot high, as we can see. These are the pivot low. We have points below the candles, and we can see that the algorithm that we wrote to identify and label these pivot candles is working properly, since we can verify this visually on this graph. So we will start first by slicing part of our data frame, taking the most recent data for the candles and the rows. We're selecting the high values. So when we have a pivot ID equal to, so it's a pivot high, we're checking what is the highest value of the current candle. Same thing if we have a pivot low, so the pivot is equal to 1. We're checking the low value of the current candle, and we're storing all of these values in high values and low values that we're going to use to plot our histograms. Then we have the bin width. A histogram always has a bin width. So what is the width of each bin? And since on the x-axis here we have the prices of euro versus the US dollar, so it's the price, the exchange price of the asset, the bin width is nothing more than the width of the zone we would like to consider. Imagine, for example, these 4 points right here. I want them to belong to the same zone, support or resistance zone, for example. In this case, I'm going to check the difference between 1.09721 minus 1.09439. So that's how wide my zone of resistance here would be. So it's up to me as a user to define this bin width, and keep in mind that this is also the width of the current support or resistance zone that we're going to define. So for now, I took only 0.003 for this example, and then I'm computing the number of bins, taking into consideration the bin width, because the function of histogramming requires the number of bins right here. So then we can plot our histograms. So we have 2 histograms, one for the high values, one for the low values, and both of them require the number of bins, the alpha transparency, so 0.5, just in case we have an overlap of these 2 histograms. We can still see these visually, one on top of the other. Then we have the labels, high values and low values, and I'm coloring these in red and blue. So we can plot these histograms. Let me see. So if we plot these, this is the example we've just defined with this slice of 1000 hours or 1000 candles, because we're using the hourly time frame. We can see, for example, that this low value level, so it's a support level, was touched 6 times by the price. So the price bounced on this level 6 times. So we can already say that 1.09 something, if you want to be more precise, you can check how much exactly this is as a price, an exchange price. But we know that the price bounced 6 times in the last 1000 hours on this support level. We also know that this one is an important resistance level, because the price bounced on this level 5 times and couldn't break on top of it. So as you can see, at this point, we can already define and reveal the key levels. What are the strongest levels? We do have a support and a resistance here, but the price bounced only 1 time on these levels. We do have one here, but it's 4 times where the price bounced 4 times on this level, and so on. So you see how this works. We can immediately see that these 2 levels are the most important key levels in the last 1000 hours. If you want to increase the resolution of your analysis, you can decrease the zone width. So if I try another zone, for example, with like 0.002 for the bin width, we can see that things change a bit. We still have almost the same levels, but the distribution and how many times the price bounced on these levels is different. We're not changing anything here. We're just taking narrower zones and we're splitting those wider bins into a higher number of bins, but it's kind of a more precise procedure. We can't be extreme, so we can't take higher resolution or a very thin bin, because it's kind of meaningless at this point. We're going to see that we don't have enough data to fill these bins, and it's not going to show anything. It's too noisy at this point. So I'm going to put this back to a normal value, let's say 0.002, and we can see that it's clearer this way. Now we can apply this analysis on the whole history. I'm going to remove the slicing part, so I'm applying it to the whole data frame that we have, 3 years of data. And what I'm interested in is to check if we have some interesting zones that play both roles as support and resistance, which is the case. So if we see those peaks here around this area, you can see that we have low values, so support levels, and also some high values, so resistance levels. And the distance between these two, if we can find a narrow one like these two levels here, this is a very good zone to trade in, because we know this is a good support level and this is a very intense resistance level. So we can identify these zones. So I can see there is one zone here. This one is a bit wide to be traded safely. This one is a good zone. And here we have a bit of noise, although we can see the pattern. Now, if we go wider in the zones, things will get less noisy, but also less precise. And we can see that these zones are clearer on this chart when we are decreasing the resolution. So this is interesting, actually. We can define zones that play both roles at the same time, support and resistance. And most of the times, these are the same areas or the same zones in the prices. Look at this one, for example. It's a very narrow one. The price bounced more than 10 times, 11 or 12 times on this particular value, 1.16 something, as support and resistance in both ways. So it bounced 10 times going up, 10 times going down on this level. Every time the price is encountering this level, we're seeing this support and resistance behavior. Okay, that's all I had to tell you for this one. Please don't forget to support and share your ideas. If you want to join the channel or drop a like, drop a comment, just the way you like it, feel free to bring your input. Until our next one, trade safe, enjoy your coding, and see you next time.